items I needed, as well as its measurements, his correct size, and how it would be when it's fully grown. For the kind of dog bed I'm making for Mojo, this is my inspo, but I'm using pink and black, not just plain pink. Now it was time for me to take Mojo's measurement. I know Mojo likes my slippers, so when I lured him to my slippers, he just laid on top of it, and I started taking the measurement for the bottom heading of his bed. I'm trying to make a big size of his bed, so even when he's an adult sized dog, he would still fit his bed. After getting the necessary measurements for his bed, I headed straight to the market so I can get fabrics that I'll use for my project. And like I mentioned earlier, we are using black and pink because the color of my own bed is black and pink, so my dog is going to have matching beds with me. I bought 1 yard of the pink fabric and I got 2 yards of the black fabric. I ended up using just 1 yard of the black fabric. I don't know why I even got 2. I was just scared that maybe 1 would not be enough, so I was supposed to go home and cut these pieces, then bring it back to the tailor store for her to sew. But since the tailor shop was on my way home, I just decided to drop it for her so that she can sew it. So the first part that she cut out was the bottom heading of his bed. So while she was sewing that part, I decided to help her with the other part because it was getting late and I really did not have much time. So yes, I cut out the remaining 4 corners of his bed. It's also known as top ring, but since I'm doing a square shape bed, I'm going to call it 4 corners of his bed. And lest I forget to mention, there was a time in my life I learned how to sew, so trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing. Once we're done with all the sewing at the tailor shop, I headed back home and I gave Mojo some chicken. That's what he's biting. And then we started off with the process of making his bed. Why am I saying we? I started off with the process of making this bed. One thing I had to sacrifice for this project is one of my 5 pillows from my bed. But trust me, it was worth it because his bed came out so lovely and I still have 4 pillows. So when I cut open that pillow I sacrificed, I took out the stuff. I don't know what it's called, but I just used it to stuff the materials from the 4 corners of his bed. Once that was done, I proceeded to stuff in his pillow. Yes, I made him a very small pillow, and then before I finally stuffed the bottom heading of his bed, I placed him on top of it to see if it was okay, not too high, not too flat, and it was so perfect. So I started sewing the edges of the bed. At this point, I was actually reconsidering if I should take it to the tailor the next day, because as you can see, it was already late. If I should take it to the tailor the next day and just have machine run through it, but I don't know, I just felt like hand would have been better because I had to maneuver a lot while I was sewing this. So for joining of the 4 corners to the bottom heading, I used a loop stitch, and then for the joining of the 4 corners, that's round, I used a running stitch. After an hour plus, I was done sewing this. I don't think it was up to an hour, but let's just say an hour plus. At this time, Mojo was already sleeping, and this is the finished look of his bed. Remember, I sewed him a throw pillow too. So that was his pillow. I also sewed him a bone shaped pillow. I didn't really like how that on that, but I think Mojo likes it because he's always biting it. Another reason for making his bed black and pink is because the outer corner, which is black, could easily get dirty, and black would always help conceal it. Anyways, this was the next morning. As you can see, Mojo likes sleeping on the bed by himself. He literally climbed the bed himself.